Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Romka and I love to talk about making moves both geographically and professionally. Now, one thing that I love more than travel is free travel. Yes, you heard me right, free travel. Now I have to do this because it's not 100% fully free. There's a bit that you of course pay to get it to be free, but it's all about making your money work for you. So anyways, I think historically when we talk about free travel, we tend to think about maybe getting flued out on somebody's dime, like whether it's a sugar mommy or a sugar daddy. I know some of y'all have them. Or it might be going through maybe work, going through some sort of special program, a sweepstakes, something of that nature. It's more recent, maybe the last 5, 10-ish years, that travel miles and travel reward cards have really become such a huge thing. And I think the introduction of travel reward cards have really changed the travel game for a lot of us. It's made it a lot more accessible for us to be able to travel and earning those travel rewards that maybe some of us otherwise may not earn. In today's video, we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of travel reward cards. Disclaimer, 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 disclaimer. You can have a travel reward card, but please make sure that you use it responsibly. As you would with any other sort of credit card or loan, make sure that you are financially responsible. Make sure that you know how to pay things back. Make sure you don't get spend crazy. Just be mindful, because ultimately you spending somebody's money and they will call you at the right time when they want their money back. And if you don't pick up when they want their money back, they know how to find you. So just make sure that travel reward card or any other type of card you're using, just use very good financial sense. Obviously with travel reward cards, the more elite of a card you want, the higher credit you're going to need to have. So I hate to say it, but if your credit is probably below like a 600, if I were you, I would actually work on building my credit score back up through some other means and then apply for a travel reward card. Now that we've gotten that out the way, let's actually start talking about travel reward cards. There are 3 categories of travel reward cards. There are the general cards, there are the airline cards, and there are the hotel cards. So of course, hotel cards are hotel aligned cards. So you might have like a Marriott card or an IHG card or a Hilton card or a Hyatt card. And so what happens with these sort of cards is that, let's say I have a Hilton card. If I stay at any Hilton property, I'll get additional points over what I would normally earn. So the way they might set up the card is that you'll get 1 point for everything you spend on, whether it's Hilton related or not. But anytime you stay at a Hilton property, you might get 2 times more, 3 times more, 4 times more, whatever the card determines. Now, the benefit to having a hotel card is that if you know that you tend to frequently travel, let's say you travel for work and you can pay for it, as in you pay for it and your work reimburses you. Let's say that your work has an affinity to go to a particular city, and based on your team, you guys are always staying at a Hilton, or you always travel for, let's say you're a photography business and you prefer to stay at Marriott's. When you have specific chains that you tend to patronize, it gives you more flexibility by staying at those chains and earning more points on a quicker basis, especially if it is you paying for something that you're ultimately going to be reimbursed for. Like, you're basically earning points for free, literally for free, because you're going to get that money back, right? So what you'll find is that for a lot of people who, like I said, maybe they travel for work and they work in places where they can actually get reimbursed, they actually will typically tend to book on their own just so they can get the points. Another type of travel card that I mentioned previously was the airline card. Airline cards are also another option. They're also loyalty cards that you get by flying with particular airlines or their partners. And so what might happen is that if you have a Delta card, for example, I think Delta, Air France, and KLM are partners. So if you fly, let's say you're flying out of the country and then you have to take Air France, you would actually earn points through Delta for Air France. And so that benefits you because that's ultimately points that you're earning that you can then spend on a future travel. General travel cards include cards like the Capital One Venture card. You also have, I think, the Chase Sapphire Preferred card. Then you also have the American Express Platinum card. So these are general reward cards in the sense that they're not necessarily tied to you flying with a particular airline or staying at a particular hotel. It's really just you traveling and earning points through those. So I want to talk a little bit about the pros and cons for choosing a loyalty card or choosing a general card. One of the pros for choosing a loyalty card is that this is one of the best ways for you to earn status. And so status is essentially the standing that you have with that chain. So as a regular individual, if I was to go to a Hyatt, they probably would put me in any kind of random room. Not that it would be a bad room, but they would just kind of put me in any room because I'm a regular individual. However, if I have very good standing with Hyatt, and let's say I'm at like their top tier, I may be able to check in early. I may be able to check out late. I might get upgraded to another room. I might get free breakfast with my stay. You know, there might be a lot of additional perks that they add in for me staying. So that right there, I think, is really the major benefit of having a loyalty card. Now, for me, a negative of having a loyalty card is that, let's say hypothetically, you're in a work situation whereby you are always flying to, let's say, Seattle. And because you're always flying to Seattle, you always take Alaska Air. But your project changes and now you have to fly to Chicago and you can no longer take Alaska Air. If you had an Alaska Air travel reward card, all of a sudden it's not going to be as useful for you. And so what I feel is that oftentimes if you end up having to change something or you no longer like the brand, you kind of can't necessarily take those points with you and apply them elsewhere. Now, when we talk about the general cards, one of the pros is that you can kind of use it anywhere. And because they are more flexible in the fact that they're not necessarily tied to any particular airline or any particular hotel, it also gives you the opportunity to use it on more general travel things or just general things in general, right? And so you think about whether you want to stay at a hotel, whether you want to stay at an Airbnb, whether you want to stay in a hostel. The travel card that I use, I actually get points for anything that's considered accommodation. I also get points for anything that's considered travel. So if I were to pay toll with my credit card, I would get points on that. If I were to take Megabus, which I've done in the past, I would get points on that. If I were to take the train, if I were to pay for my metro fare with my credit card, I would get points on that. For me, I think it's better because it allows you to use your card in a lot more other places where you can actually make use of it. And it kind of gives you a bit more freedom to also spend it in other places. Now, of course, one of the things to keep in mind when it comes to valuation, which I'm not going to get into so much in this video, but valuation is pretty much how much your points are worth when you start considering using it in other places. And so the valuation tends to differ based on airline. So I know for my card, I think Southwest might have one of the higher valuations, which means I get more out of my points if I'm flying Southwest. But that doesn't mean I still can't use them to like fly JetBlue or to fly Delta or to fly Air France. I've used it before in the past to actually book flights through some of these other airlines, and it's been pretty good. I think I've used it to book flights through Air Mexico or Copa Airlines because I went to somewhere in Central, I think when I went to Panama, maybe when I went to Panama, but I was able to use my points for that. Now, obviously, a major con with the general travel cards is that it will take you longer to reach status. Now, of course, if you have a general travel card and you're still only staying at one brand of hotel, you're still only flying one airline, you will still eventually get to status, but you definitely won't get to status as fast as if you had a loyalty card for that specific chain. So that's something to keep in mind. Like I mentioned, I think for me, I just like the flexibility of being able to earn across the board and use it across the board because I like to travel to different places. And, you know, for those who don't know, certain airlines don't frequently visit certain countries or certain regions. And I want to be able to travel literally the world. So for me, it works out to have a more general card. I have the flexibility to do that, and I know I'm still going to earn a good amount of points back on it. So just as a recap, when we talk about loyalty travel reward cards, you have to think about the hotel chain cards and then the airline cards. I think one of the best ways to obviously pick if you're going to go along this route is to make sure it's one that you will frequently use, like I've mentioned. So if you are just Marriott crazy and you love to stay at the Ritz-Carlton, you like to stay at the JW Marriott, you want to stay at, you know, the regular Marriotts, this would be a great card for you. If you tend to fly Delta because they go to a lot of the locations that you like, then that makes sense for a great card for you. If your main thing about flying is to fly with free bags, Southwest is probably your best option. But these are just some of the loyalty cards that are available there. Once again, these loyalty cards can be great if you know that you are loyal to these brands. But if you want a bit more flexibility, then I would check out the general cards. And similar to the loyalty cards, with the general cards as well, there are some business options. So there are some business travel reward cards, but there are, of course, personal ones as well that you can apply to. A huge thing to keep in mind with both type of cards, whether it's a loyalty card or a general card, is that for a lot of them, the goal is to earn points, but there are some that will give you cash back or will give you some form of points that can be converted into cash back. So you don't necessarily have to spend the points only on travel. You could spend the points and use it to get a gift card. You could spend the points and use it to pay off a card or pay off that specific card. So it just depends on what the perks of the card are. I'll be continuing this discussion on travel reward cards in future videos, so please keep an eye out. And as always, make sure to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to my channel for more travel and career content. Thank you.